please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Welcome back. Well, the next stock that's on our focus is NBCC. The company has been guiding for good growth, talking about improving order book in the current year as well. So let's straight away get to it. We have Mr. Anoop Kumar Mittal, Chairman of NBCC, joining in. Sir, let me start by getting your thoughts on the first quarter. How is the year off to in terms of a start? Because you gave us some very optimistic projections when we spoke to you for FY19 earlier as well.
See, FY19, I expect that the growth should be minimum 30%, and it will be visible from the first quarter, means from this quarter itself. And obvious reason is some of the large value project which we started last year in FAG and maybe third quarter or fourth quarter, now are giving revenue, and this will be booked in this financial year onward.
So, the GST impact that you've seen in all of FY18, you think that's largely behind you?
Yes, except in this quarter, this is first quarter last year, that quarter was also inclusive of GST. But nevertheless, this quarter will show growth of at least 25 to 30%. Even GST, if this quarter we are taking X GST, and last year quarter was with GST. Even then, this quarter will show you growth of 25 to 30%, and next quarter onwards, it's a very clear apple-to-apple comparison, X GST in both the years.
Okay, you recently bagged a few orders, about 1,200 crores in Himachal Pradesh, almost 400 crores from the Odisha government. Tell us a little bit about that. What kind of timeline would this have for execution? When will it start flowing into your revenue stream?
You see, very recently we have bagged one order from Health Ministry for construction of AIIMS. Approximate value is about 1,300 crore rupees, 1,300 crore rupees. And the timeline is about 3 years for construction of entire complex. But because of the necessity in that area for AIIMS and hospital, our plan is to start some infrastructure, maybe OPD or some bed hospital by end of this financial year. So you will see revenue recognition from this project from third quarter onward, and it will go on. And similarly, we have bagged other orders like some border fencing works, PMGSY works, IITs. So all these projects are on track, and that's why I said the revenue booking will start from this financial year, and you will see real growth in the company, which we were expecting since last 1 year.
Also, Mr. Mittal, there has been some talk of appointing NBCC as the manager perhaps of a couple of these properties which are seized by regulatory agencies because of one reason or the other. Now, has there been any progress? And I'm just trying to understand what's going to be the revenue share, as in what do you gain out of it in terms of your top line?
You're talking about which project?
The concept of appointing NBCC as the manager for seized properties, which are seized by either lenders or by enforcement agencies, seized assets. There were some reports that were doing the rounds on this in I think March and April.
You see, NBCC is being considered for developing affordable housing on sick PSU or loss-making PSUs. And we are also very keen to start those projects on government land, and some of the projects are under consideration, and DPR has been prepared, and maybe in a month or 2 months time you will hear that in which part of the country we will start affordable housing, and the model will be almost similar what we are doing in Kidwai Nagar and other places.
Okay, so what will then your affordable housing portfolio grow to if this kicks off this year itself? Then how much of your revenue do you think you will garner from this side of the business, affordable housing?
You see, I'm not in a position to give you the numbers, but definitely the kind of projects we are considering or preparing DPR, the number will be very high, and in comparison to previous years, growth will be, I mean, there will not be any comparison. It will be much beyond expectation, because all these land parcels are very large area. So not only affordable housing, some other housing and infrastructure will be developed. So revenue recognition will be definitely much more than what we are talking or expectation.
Okay, can you give us an update on what's happening with the Dharavi redevelopment project? There were some roadblocks that project was facing in terms of execution, etc. What stage is the plan at present? Where have your talks with the Maharashtra government reached?
You see, regularly we are talking to Maharashtra government, and still we have not finalized. And I heard that government of Maharashtra is thinking something different model also, where NBCC role is still we have to finalize. So things are still under discussion. Nothing has been finalized as far as Dharavi is concerned.
Okay, nothing.
But another project, Wadala.
Sure. Go ahead.
Another project, Wadala, which we are constructing on behalf of Ministry of Finance. It's a greenfield project on 40-acre land. I mean, DPR stage, and I expect in next 6 months' time, we should be in a position to show something there, maybe physical work or sale of property there, because this project is also self-revenue generation project.
Okay, sir. So 30% revenue growth this year should be much better than FY18, and margin, where do you see them sustaining this year?
You see, margins, this is PMC company, so we work on agency charges. So if we do X amount of work, we get, say, 10%. And the only expenditure is our employees' cost and some miscellaneous expenditure. So margins will increase definitely, because employees' cost is not going to be increased in that proportion. So, but that will not show you similar kind of percentage growth as will be in top line. Because the top, I mean, there is a cap of agency charges, but definitely margins will increase. It all depends how much we do, and it may increase by 5%, 10%. So definitely margins will also increase.
Okay, one final question then, because the Air India project, the Kidwai Nagar project were the big ones that actually were expected to change the trajectory of NBCC's earnings. I want to understand any other big government orders that could sort of give you a high revenue potential over the next, say, 1 to 2 years. Whether it's the Naroji Nagar project or even the Pragati Maidan, what are you banking on now?
You see, we are banking on Naroji Nagar, which is already started, Pragati Maidan. Netaji Nagar is also, I mean, under construction. So all these 4 or 5 projects will give maximum revenue to our growth other than what we used to do. And I hope in next 3 months' time, 1 or 2 similar kind of projects in Delhi may also be awarded to NBCC on similar model.
All right, we'll let you go on that note. Thanks a lot for joining us. We'll step into a short break now, but on the other side of the break, remember Madhu Kela was telling you about how some of these PSU and private sector banks could give you big returns. B. Sriram, the MD of Corporate Banking at State Bank of India, will join in next to discuss the outlook. Welcome back. This is part 2 of the discussion that we're having with Madhu Kela. Remember, earlier in the on the show, he did talk to us about the pharma sector. He sees potential there. We spoke to Karur Vysya Bank as well. Now, the other space that we're talking about is the PSU bank lot, and he does see a lot of opportunities here. Madhu, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you, Sonia.
You told us about SBI, of course, the biggest of the banks.
Yeah.
We in fact have B. Sriram, the MD of Corporate Banking at State Bank of India, who joins in. Mr. Sriram, good morning. Madhu Kela is with us. He will be posing some questions to you, but let me just open the forum by asking you about the IBC resolution. You know, just put the numbers in front of us. What recoveries do you hope to see now over the next 1 year because of the resolution under IBC, and not just the recoveries under IBC, how much do you hope to get back from, other settlements, the sale to ARCs, and also some of these cases outside NCLT?
Yeah, good morning. Actually, as far as the IBC is concerned, if I can give you some data, From SBI, we have, as per the list 1 and list 2 of RBI, on the list 1 we have exposure of about 50,000, and on the list 2 we have about 28,000. So a total of 78,000 crores of a total corporate NPAs of close to 1,70,000 crores is under these two lists. What we are seeing is that the first list of 50,000 crores that we have, more or less the 12 accounts are almost close to decision. 2 of them have already been resolved. And the second list will probably be attended to in the rest of the year, current year. As far as the provisioning goes, in terms of the background that we have in terms of resolutions through IBC on the list 1, provisions of about 56% we hold, and this is based on actual recovery probabilities that we have seen in these 12 accounts. And on the second list, actually we have been a little bit more aggressive and tried to provide a little bit more. So we carry a provision of about 75% on that. On a net basis, the average provisioning on these accounts that we have through the 2 lists are around 63%. And on the back of the expected recoveries that we feel will happen through the year, we are quite confident that this provision has been quite proactive and quite aggressive. And there are chances of getting back write-backs of some order during the year.
That was exactly my next question, sir, because I think that is the trigger that the market has its eye on as well, that as the tide turns, as some of this resolution gets underway, how much money can banks get back? So we've seen a figure of 50,000 crores being reported by one of the bank officials. Would that be correct? And is that this year itself, or are you talking about the next couple of years of getting this kind of money back via write-backs?
I think the 50,000 crores that was mentioned was in terms of reduction in NPLs. It is not in terms of the recoveries as such, or the write-backs as such. But 50,000 crores, as I said, we already hold 50,000 crores of NPLs on list 1. And is more likely than ever before that we should be able to recover, or rather reduce the NPLs of at least that 50,000 crores. In terms of recoveries, as I said, it depends on quarter to quarter as the resolutions start to happen. So we can't really give a guidance for each quarter. It's likely that some of the accounts where we hold larger provisions and recoveries are better, we may need to hold for some provisions that we may require in other accounts during the other quarters of the year. And the same fact goes for the ones that probably where we resolve faster and where it could require more provisioning to be done. Maybe in the initial quarters the provisioning will be higher, but these will be offset by the recoveries, higher recoveries that happen during later part of the year. But largely the trending is down in terms of credit costs. We have already guided that we would be looking at both slippages as well as credit cost of around 2%, and I'm sure that we will be able to stick to that as part of our guidance.
Yeah, sir. Good morning, Madhu Kela here. So just not seeking a particular guidance or something, we're just discussing possibilities here. So if I just take away 1 or 2 quarters over this year, which are still like uncertain, and if you talk of 2 to 3 years, based on our numbers and calculation, State Bank of India can make an operating profit of 60,000 crore rupees per year if I take 2-3 year perspective. Do you think that is a possibility?
As far as operating profit is concerned, we are currently also striking 60,000 crores. I think in the current year we were at about 59,000 plus crores. There was, of course, an extraordinary income of 5,000 crores there. But largely, we'll find that about 3,000 to 5,000 crores of some additional income is always there in a bank such as ours. So 60,000 crores is something that we have already striking. The problem with the results over the last 2-3 years was purely on the enhanced credit costs that we saw, and that is where I think the value of the organization in terms of making these ahead of the curve provisioning, as well as making sure that the credit costs go downwards as we go in the next 2-3 years is very important to us. And credit costs, as you know, Madhu, is a factor of two things. One is, of course, the aging provision that we continue to do. And the second is in terms of what are the slippages that we are looking forward to in the next 2 to 3 years. We have, as we have stated in our earnings call, looking at a watch list of the corporate side of about 29,000. And this includes all of our SMA2 portfolio, all of our SMA1 except for 3,000 crores. And so I think in terms of both going forward, both in terms of slippages as well as in terms of the aggressive provisioning that we have done, getting the aging provision down, both these counts, I think we have very well positioned in the next 2 to 3 years.
That's a point which I was making, sir, that if your core operating profit can be, let's say, in 2019-20, 60,000 crores, and if your provisions are down, so based on our numbers, you could make a profit of 35,000 crores at a PAT level. And State Bank of India, I have not seen it cheaper than these valuations in my career in last 15-20 years. That and plus there is the value of the subsidiary. That's another comment which I was asking from you. That if we take 2020 March, as a number, what could be the valuation range of your subsidiary business, which includes life insurance, general insurance, mutual fund, and all other investments which you have?
Actually, the life insurance is already listed, and we've got a valuation on that, which is on in the markets as well.
That's right.
We are looking forward to listing a few more of our subsidiaries so that we can get a better valuation, because most of the worth and the value of the subsidiaries are known internally but have not been captured in the market. So that is a big piece, yes. And the next 2 to 3 years, I think many of our subsidiaries which are doing extremely well, including general insurance, including the funds management, the cards, I think we should be looking at getting a better valuation than what it is embedded in the current valuation of the SBI scrip. But more importantly, I think the core business of the bank is extremely robust at the moment. We have redefined completely the risk management processes. Our CASA continues to be very healthy at about 45+%. The margins are going to go upwards in the coming years purely because of 2-3 reasons. One, the decreasing NPLs, the resolutions where we are going to earn a lot of interest income on the resolutions from the sustainable debt, which will become interest earning. The large amount of interest reversals that we have done because of the NPL recognition over the last 2 to 3 years will no longer be there. So all in all, and the technology benefits that we've been very proactive on the technology front also. Almost 50% of our technology spends is in forward-looking activities. And I'm sure we will be well positioned in the next 2 to 3 years to create a value for the company which has never existed before. I think SBI as a return on assets has never crossed, or rather has been around, the maximum has been around the 1% mark. And I am very, very optimistic and bullish that that sort of figures will come in sooner than later.
Sir, one last question from me. This IBC resolution, in some cases, is taking little longer than what we were expecting earlier. Like, people are going to courts, people are going to Supreme Court, this, that. When do you think that this stabilizes, and or do you see at least 4 or 5 cases getting resolved before September, at least the larger ones?
I suspect that the law is relatively young, and there has been another ordinance which has come in recently, and surely there will be testing of the law in some way or the other. But if you see the experience, I think we have been able to resolve 2 of the 12 accounts. They are pretty reasonably large accounts, and I'm quite reasonably sure, and because of the focus that the even the courts, the NCLT courts have been fixing dates, which has been reasonably faster. We are quite hopeful that by end of September, at least the first list of these 12 accounts should be behind us. And largely, if you see the process of bidding, getting value, and what is the ultimate end game is something that has already been completed. It's basically a matter of technicalities and legal issues that are being debated. But in terms of I would imagine the bids that are to be, and what is the value of the company, how much recovery is probably possible in many of these accounts, I think those have come out pretty clearly for us to take a view and make sure that the provisioning is adequate for the bank, and we are not in for any surprises there.
Thank you so much, sir, for endorsing my bullish view. That was very nice to hear you. Thank you so much.
All right, we've run out of time. We would have loved to chat some more, but unfortunately out of time. Madhu, thank you so much for stopping by and speaking with us. And with that, it's curtains down on Bazaar, but do stay tuned in. Trading ideas lined up on Chartbusters.